Hello, fellow heroes. I'm Action Smacchan, that 2-in-1 hero made up of a virus from the 70s and a guy who likes to play things. And of course, I'm back on the podcast with my pal,
Blue Infinity 22.
Ooh, man, that coordination, we practically got it. But yeah, we're going to start as we do every day, Blue, and start with what have you been playing lately?
So I've actually been revisiting the early Assassin's Creed series.
Assassin's Creed, really?
Yeah, like it's kind of hard to like not just like go overboard and like going into it, but it's like the older Assassin's Creed games had like a very unique like they call it puzzle box aspect to it.
Puzzle box.
Where like yeah, so basically like the term was kind of coined by I think J.J. Abrams back when Lost was a thing, where they basically make it to where they don't give what's in the box, but they give small hints as they go along where people discuss, they look at all the details. It's like a trail of breadcrumbs they follow and they theorize. And so people usually associate like X-Files, Lost, things like that with that aspect. And so Assassin's Creed kind of had that early on where the first game had like every game did with a cliffhanger, which was already kind of crazy for a video game to do. But they didn't explain almost anything about why Desmond, the main character, was taken, or what the purpose was, or who was there in the building beforehand. And the early games had a really cool like blend of mythology, science fiction, real life stuff. And it really after Assassin's Creed 3, they kind of like completely shifted the series to a different direction, which you could probably argue is more accessible. But yeah, the older games, like I just kind of like got back into like really looking at them, and they were so much fun and like so much mystery and cool like details and small details, and it's been fun kind of revisiting it.
Huh, interesting. It's really cool that they have like such intricate like things like that put into the design of the game.
Have you ever played any of them?
I have not, even though I do have a lot of friends that love it.
Have you seen anything about the games?
I've seen people with the hoods.
Ooh, okay, so that might be something interesting for you to experience if you haven't seen any of like the story or like detail.
I don't really know what it's about.
Yeah, that actually probably is like the absolute best way you can do it. Like it's such a like incredible experience until you get to the ending of it, the third game.
Yeah, I'm kind of weird. Like I never played any Assassin's Creed, so I don't really know anything about Assassin's Creed. And I actually have never played Minecraft.
Oh,
never
wow,
played
really?
Minecraft. Yeah. In the million years that it's been out already, we were children when that game came out.
If you ever want to do like a big stream, I think you doing Assassin's Creed would be very interesting. Or like if you just want to play something on the side, and because I'd like to see your reaction and your take, because it really is like as you go, like it really touches on a lot of philosophy as well. And I want to avoid like spoiling anything then, since you haven't seen like anything. Like it's like it's very gripping following the story on the early series. It's a lot more disconnected now and like kind of on their own games, but back then like literally every game ended with a major cliffhanger. And yeah, like I've never seen a game do that like at that point when I first played it for the first time. Like like a lot of people actually got pissed off by the first game because it is such a major cliffhanger that you would think it's the halfway point of the game with how it just abruptly ends.
But you get punched by the credits.
Yeah, like literally he goes, what the and then it credits.
That's a huge gamble too. Like
oh yeah, like you could tell that they were really like, and the Assassin's Creed series in game design, like it really inspired a lot in like for Japanese devs. Like Breath of the Wild, they talked about how they actually took a bit from inspiration from Assassin's Creed, and Square Enix also credits Assassin's Creed for a lot of their action games that it really inspired them. Sakurai, I believe, has mentioned Assassin's Creed as one of the games that really like motivated, because it really was like the first true like freedom and movement that like the way that it played, like it's such a gamble, like what they did there. Like it's honestly crazy. So like even from like a game design standpoint, like it really did like inspire a lot, and people really took notice of like how it played. So
interesting.
yeah, it's hard to believe, like looking back, just how major Assassin's Creed was compared to like today.
Yeah, I just know that it has its fans, and by it has its fans, I mean, you know, a lot of them.
Oh yeah, but, I would definitely be interested to see you trying them out.
Yeah, I don't play a whole lot of Western games. Like I could probably just count them all on like one hand. Most of them have like, Batman in it. $20 to get the whole core. Yeah. No, honestly, if you would like to see my first experiences in Assassin's Creed, let me know in the comments. Yeah, if you actually wanted to watch Action Smacchan play that game, because I never played Western games. It is a retro game, and I'm a retro gaming nerd, I guess.
PS3, that's like
PS3, ancient. Dang old ancient. Yep, I definitely like stubbed my toe on a PS3 the other day and got hit by a cloud of dust. But interesting, yeah, I'll consider it, and if you want me to consider it more, just leave us a comment and be all like, hey, make a Smacchan play the Western Assassin's Creed.
Make like an edit to have a one of the hoods on Smacchan.
Yeah, Assassin Smack.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That would be so cute.
Assassin Chan.
Yes.
And how about yourself?
Let's see here. I have been playing a little bit of Genshin Impact. Been turning that back on. I have a funny relationship with the game because I haven't really been like playing it. I would just like turn it on, run around in circles with no L for like 5 minutes, then turn it back off.
You never take L's.
Yeah, I don't take L's. I just take my waifu.
W's, yeah.
But I have been turning it on and like inching my way through the story prior.
Genshin Impact.
Yeah, I was Genshin Impact. Genshin my way through an Impact.
I'll be here all night.
Improv, baby. But I've been playing a little bit more of the story because prior I've only gone through all the major chapters in Liyue. And I thought to myself, maybe I should actually go and see what's happening in Inazuma. And I've gone through that. I have a buck ton of Primo gems at the moment. Because,
that's good.
Yeah. So whenever a cute girl comes in and I'm all like, well, I guess I want that one, I could just put all 5,000 of these into work.
Does it have a pity system for that?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it's like every 10 wishes you get automatically at least a 4-star something.
Oh no, I meant like a mercy, as in like the banner, like the 5-star. Usually there's a mercy where if you do enough pulls, you're guaranteed to get it. But I don't remember if Genshin has one.
Oh, I don't think so. But at the same time, like, you know, I've barely played since like 2.0. You know what I mean?
Like Big Grand Order used to not have one, and then they eventually added one where it's like after 300 pulls, you get the 5-star, which is like just like 900 quartz. It's like something absolutely absurd, but at the very least, like it means that there is a max to paying. So, Giovanni and Lost used to be so friendly with that.
Yeah, I did recently get a cute girl. I got Chiori.
Ooh, there you go.
I have a bunch of cute Geo girls that I'm pretty proud of having. But yeah, that's about it. Have been playing a little bit more of Aiden Chronicle. Still enjoying it. But yeah, that's about all I've been playing lately. Which means I guess we could get into today's topic, yeah? All right, so With the rapid growth of video game technology and design philosophy, innovations are constantly being built upon the base of the formative generations of the medium. For newer gamers who have not grown up with the wild frontier of retro gaming, it can be difficult to go back to the 8-bit generation. However, the third generation of gaming still offers a unique experience that every avid fan of video games shouldn't miss. What video games do you recommend for someone trying to get into retro 8-bit games? What are your thoughts, Blue?
For me, when I'm like thinking about it, because like I have little sisters that they grew up in the 360 era of and so like they had like never heard of anything before then, and yeah.
Blue, do your job, man.
Yeah.
Get
So,
these
like,
girls cultured.
Yeah, and so like it was really interesting showing them like the GameCube for a while, and the Nintendo Switch Online having the arcades really actually no, it originally started with the Wii U when Nintendo had a software that every amiibo that you used on it unlocked a classic 8-bit game.
Full game. Hold on.
Yeah, yeah. Like I can't remember what exactly it was called, but yeah, like every amiibo you put in unlocked a new game, and they found that they were just fascinated by it. But I found that it actually helped them a lot for getting into 8-bit by starting from the 16-bit games. Because like that era tended to focus more on like the controls compared to back then, like Link to the Past versus the original, or Super Mario World versus the original. And it helped them kind of like starting with that, because it also is less of like a dramatic.
Yeah, it like softens the blow, like the jump from high def to 16.
Yeah, they're looking at it like, what is that? It also helps when it's a series that they already know. That really helps too.
Oh, yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, so like going from like New Super Mario Brothers, it helped them a lot in like trying out like Mario Brothers 3, because it's not so different, but the controls do feel a lot stiffer versus like Super Mario World. And so so I would say like later NES games, for someone who's just trying to like, I just want to jump into classic 8-bit, I would say starting from the later games on the console, when they've really kind of focused more on the console experience, because the early NES was mostly arcade, just being on the whole console. So like there was like no saves, it was high score. They were just trying to mimic the arcades and have ports for it, like Joust and Donkey Kong, things like that. And then later on, like near the end of the lifespan, like Mario Brothers 3, Kirby's Adventure, like those are a lot easier for someone to kind of
Blaster Master.
Yeah, like those are definitely like really good ones to like go in if someone's like experienced and they want to really see what the classics are. Like those are really good ones to jump in to kind of get familiar with how they feel.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I definitely agree with you, especially with games like Kirby's Adventure.
Oh yeah.
Because it is not that far from what Kirby still is. Like it's definitely a little bit more jarring to go into like Kirby's Dream Land.
Yeah,
because you don't have all of his...
I experienced that myself.
Yeah, you don't have all of his abilities. You just have, the basics. But by the time we get to Kirby's Adventure, first of all, we have color, Kirby's pink. We have the actual copy abilities, and that's fun. You get to see all the staples of the Kirby series copy abilities.
It's a bit of a tangent, but that reminded me that I learned that the boss rush in Kirby's Dream Land 3 is actually no powers whatsoever. It goes back to the original Kirby Dream Land kind of style.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's really funny.
Yep. It actually makes a lot of it harder.
Oh yeah, you get that. Yeah, you're just completely in there with no powers for the entire rush. I was like, wow, yeah, that throws back to the classic Kirby's.
Although kind of halfway through-ish. Like there is some bosses in Kirby's Dream Land 3 where it doesn't matter if you have powers or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because definitely like the final boss, that's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Because you're like shoot 'em upping.
Mm-hmm. All right. Kirby's Dream Land 3 mentioned. All right.
Got that out of the way. I'm glad we planned that out. Now let's talk about Blue Reflection.
All right. That's a good place to start.
All right. So to get into 8-bit games, you better play Blue Reflection first. And then go, gosh, we've already peaked. So let's go ahead and just back it up.
Yeah. So for accessing classic games though, for sure, like if the Switch Online is a fantastic way of just immediately having full access to some of the higher quality games.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah. And it also has like so much accessibility to games that just were not accessible like just a few years ago, man.
Yeah, and I believe it even has rewind features, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so like all of the frustrating aspects is really nice because like I know there would be a lot of like streamers who usually only do like gacha games or like popular modern games where they would actually go use the Nintendo Switch Online to play some of the classic ones, and they would obviously not be very like they would be start to get very frustrated.
Let's just say it.
They would be very frustrated at like a lot of the difficulty of classic games because this was before a lot of like quality of life features or saves. And so having the rewind feature makes it a lot easier for them to be able to actually like clear the games and save states to if they like make bad decisions or like waste an item. Because back then it would be you wasted it, you started over. Like,
go back 10 hours, kid.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the like habits for people hoarding items came from because there was no like going back. Like you used it, you got to start all over. So people would just hoard things until they knew. So yeah, like the Nintendo Switch Online is so good for like trying out those classic 8-bit games and in a setting that's very little frustration because with the rewind and save states and you can even do it online too, like with your friends.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. I love the feature for NSO where you actually are able to play these games online with people.
Yeah, like you can even, I think you can even switch controllers, right?
Yeah. I've never tried it, but I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
Yeah, I think I recall it. Yeah, so you can even like sort of like, hey, do this for me.
But yeah, nifty stuff. You could play like freaking Murasame Castle, Mysterious Murasame Castle, which was available to us only on the 3DS for a while, and that died. But now it's available on NSO.
I'm surprised at how much history there is to that game and how influential apparently it was. Like,
well, it was the only other thing that would use the same systems as what's it called? Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. Like it's just like the more I learn about the game, the amount of influence and like history that game has, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Like I legitimately wanted Takamaru for Smash Bros.
Yeah, he's
have to go with the assist trophy, which is fine because honestly he's just gonna bop people with that sword.
I just think Marth could have gone the way of him.
Yeah, Marth could have never gotten pants.
Yeah. On second thought, yeah, the classics were better.
Marth with pants, whack. Take them off, boy. Show me them thighs.
So I guess that actually brings up another point where it's like sometimes for some of the classic games you'll want to look ahead of time. Like Fire Emblem, the original, it's not very it's very difficult to get into because all of the like things that you would take for granted in Fire Emblem are not there at all.
Well, to be fair, it's literally the very first tactical RPG. Yeah,
like it is so difficult. Like you don't like you have to like pen and paper that game.
Well, that is a thing for NES games. You really just have to break out the pen and paper, man.
Yeah, and like some of the games, like they would have it to where the manual was part of the game itself too.
Yes, like you would not want to go into Final Fantasy without it, man.
Yeah.
No, sir. You wouldn't know where anything is.
Yeah, they even continued that kind of thing until the the 32-bit era, where even Metal Gear Solid in game would reference the manual, and you'd have to look in it.
Or I could check game FAQs at that point.
Yeah, Ultima was another one that did that too, where you had to use the manual because it was a translator for the language in the game.
But going back to the original Fire Emblem, one thing that I really liked about it was Sheeta's portrait, where she's just like in a state of constant swoon.
Yeah,
I adore it. Like I'm all like, how come she has any other expression in any other iteration of Fire Emblem? I like play Fire Emblem Heroes. I'm all like, Sheeta, how come you're not swooning right now? I get it. It's because Marth put some pants on, but have him take them off. She's gonna be swooning.
The art style is very nice. Like they the only way you can see that art style anymore is in the cipher, because like it's such a man. It's definitely worth it's worth experiencing. Like maybe not beating the game, but
you don't have to finish it. Just go until like one of your party members dies.
Yeah, like I'm not kidding either about like how little UI there is in it. Like it doesn't show the move, it doesn't show the attack range, it doesn't show the enemy's move. Like you literally need to like calculate everything yourself. It's
very scary.
No,
absolutely. Like I only played it. Like I actually swore that I just would not play the game, but like I played it for like an hour, just trying to get through like the first campaign.
Yeah,
and it was intense, boy. Just for the first campaign.
It's comparable to like a digital tabletop game, I would say. Like if you picture you and your enemy on like a tabletop, that's a lot of what it's like, where you're moving your pieces yourself.
Yes,
like,
it's very very chess-like.
Yeah, and like the art style is really nice, and it really is like, it really does feel ahead of its time. Like if you put yourself in the shoes like back then, like the portraits are beautiful.
They are fantastic.
Artwork, the animations are shockingly like detailed, like definitely ahead of its time. And like I could definitely see myself just back in the day, just at night, just sitting there and just enjoying this game a lot.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so the original Fire Emblem, do recommend? Not necessarily to beat, but
I'd recommend trying it. Yeah.
You know, I agree.
It takes you right into it too. There's like no startup.
Oh yeah, there's no startup. That was immediate. I got to see swooning Sheeta immediately.
Yeah,
a little bit in love.
That's actually something that like a lot of these 8-bit games you'll kind of notice, is that a lot of them are immediate startup. Like there's no like loading, there's no like beginning cutscene or long intros or tutorials. Like almost all of them is immediately you hit start.
Yeah, you just get dropped in. Like integrating like an opening just was not a thing, because I think a large part of that is because they would just put it inside the instruction booklet.
Yeah, there's just not enough space either in these cartridges back in the day. Like limitations.
That does make me think that what's it called? The original Phantasy Star is a little bit revolutionary in that aspect, because you do start with like story and cutscene.
You could say Mother.
Oh yeah. Wait. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
with
NES.
Nintendo. Yeah. And technically for us, it's Earthbound Beginnings.
Yeah, it was going to be released here, but it was too late in the cycle of the NES that they just canceled it.
Yeah, like the future soul of Reggie just came back in time, was all like, no. Don't do it.
Yeah, because they were like, it's going to be really expensive, and the game's already, the NES is already out, like, and the Super Nintendo's already here. They're just like, it's not worth it.
Yep.
Like, it's actually literally what they used for Earthbound Zero. They just took that finished game and literally just put it on. It's just completely. So that's why it has a lot of the like writing style or localization style of back then, because it literally was the ROM they used. So that one's a pretty good one to kind of introduce, because that one's a pretty big game. Ninja Gaiden's another one where it was one of the first games with cutscenes.
Yes, we're gonna see a whole lot of firsts with these early 8-bit games. Because again, it was
because that's something it's worth like admiring. That you'll definitely feel a difference in like honestly, like the passion, because a lot of these games were made out of passion, that they wanted to make something new and creative and to really stand out. And you really feel that in a lot of these games, because there's like so many of these games have so many unique mechanics that were like never seen before. And you would see them like go through like limitations, how to get around them. And it's really like inspiring. And that's why like a lot of people can just sit down and just like I remember in college, people would just like download entire like folders of NES games and just try them out, just like in a weekend with friends, just like have it on the TV and just like try out all these different NES games, because they're just so creative and there's so many like unique traits with them that even like the most like shovelware title has something to admire. Like this was back when like the licensed games were actually like taken seriously back in those days, because it was like such a major money maker, because original IPs usually struggled more than the licensed games, which is like wild to think about nowadays.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, because like once the GameCube era hit, licensed games were like that was the things you avoided. But
I think I'm gonna go play Sonic instead.
Yeah, because like and for like the 8-bit days, like licensed games is what put a lot of these companies on the map. Like Capcom was known as the licensed game maker.
Yeah, and they made them good, man. The Saturday mornings.
Yeah, like all the Disney licensed games were Capcom, and like that was that was what they were known for. They were like, did they also make the Lion King?
I want to say yes,
because like the Lion King is like the fifth, like I think like the fifth highest selling game on the console. Like
that game was hard.
Yeah, like it's 4 levels, and everyone just dies in the second one.
Yeah,
like,
because that Jake was impossible.
I don't want to just be king. I want to be done with this level.
I don't even have to grow up. I just want to be done.
Like I'm a clown. Yeah. So there's a lot that like the Mickey Mouse games for the NES, like pretty well known. Like they were. Like it's a whole other, like you're like just like, wow, this is a whole other world in 8-bit.
But yeah, as for me, I have a hard time thinking about 8-bit games and not going towards Mega Man.
Yeah,
so because like everything about Mega Man is just such a dang old polished experience for the console. The music goes hard. They push the limits of what that sound chip can do. They made Mega Man Blue specifically because there's a lot of blues, so they could put a whole lot of depth to his character design, and just their approach to level design, fantastic. As for which one to actually give to people as an introductory for Mega Man and 8-bit games,
we already know.
Yeah, the answer is Blue Reflection.
Yeah, the blue,
also,
the blue bomber.
Yeah, the blue bomber reflection. I would actually choose Mega Man 4 for people to start with.
Is that because it's the first one with the cutscene?
It's the first one with the Mega Buster, the chargeable Mega Buster.
Oh yeah, is that also the one where he's standing on the subway and like his helmet comes on? I think that was 3, right? Yeah,
I think that's 4. Yeah, that's 4.
Yeah, that scene stuck with me. Like I remember playing that at a friend's house, and that image, like that was the coolest thing I had like ever seen on an NES. Like the wind just flowing through his hair, because he had hair.
He's not
And then
bald.
the helmet, yeah, and the helmet coming on, and then I'm just like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, no, Mega Man openings were always so cool.
Yeah, that one definitely would be good because it's also he also has the slide.
Yeah, by then he has all the mechanics that we expect from modern Mega Man.
Yeah, it would make the transition pretty easy.
Yep. I would not choose 5 because 5 is hard. The game is so hard. The unfortunate part is that's the one I grew up with. So
oh yeah, that is unfortunate.
But you know, that didn't stop me from falling in love because I absolutely fell in love with Mega Man.
Yeah, I know most would probably say 2 would be the one to.
Yeah, well, like 2 still a lot of fun. Very polished. Music's awesome. It's just that if you want the full understanding of the Mega Man experience, 4 is just more
I agree with
akin.
your point for sure.
But 2 is definitely the fan favorite.
Yeah, it also feels the most different from the rest of them, and because like that kind of goes back to one of the things I mentioned earlier, where Mega Man 2 wasn't actually a game that they developed on their main schedule. They actually believed Mega Man was not going to be a hit after releasing the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they asked to do a sequel, they said, look, we will only allow you to do it on your off time.
Mm-hmm.
We need to focus on other games that'll actually make money. And so Mega Man 2 was entirely made out of pure passion. Like they gave their free time, they gave their all to their main work so that they could work on it. It was actually similar to Smash Bros. And Link's Awakening, where those were also done on their off time.
Oh yeah, I definitely remember that about the development for Link's Awakening. That was a side project.
Yeah,
and they were all like, "Wait a second!"
Off time. They got off work just to go do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why there's such weird like crossover characters in there because they were just putting them in.
Yeah, like it really feels like an entirely different time where it really was everything was just made out of passion, and you could really feel that. Like, and it seemed like the games that really did have that kind of passion behind it were always successful. It really feels like that. Like back in the day, like gamers, like even without like because there was no like internet. Like so people like had to either like take the risk, and word of mouth was like the entire way of like spreading outside of like Nintendo Power. So like those games that really did leave an impression and really did impress, and you could feel the passion behind it, they really were the ones that everyone would want to like support, and it really felt like that. And you do feel that with a lot of the games that you would play from then.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But yeah, of course I have to recommend Mega Man, and I've already recommended Kirby. Do you have any other specific titles that you would want to hand us, Blue?
So one that I think is actually so there's a lot of games down there that are known for their multiplayer versus like the single player, and like honestly Contra is a very high recommendation. Like, I haven't met any. Yeah, like even people who don't like shoot 'em ups or anything like that, like Contra with 2 players
simultaneously.
Yeah, like it really did, like, because like I wasn't a big shooter guy, but my brother and I loved Contra, and we didn't even have the Contra code, which gave you like 20 lives. Like we had just the 2 lives, and we would just keep restarting over and over, and it was a lot of fun. And the music was high octane, the visuals were gorgeous. Like we thought it was one of the best looking games on the NES. Like it was tons of fun, very exciting, very accessible, and like 2 players together, it's such a great time. Like that one definitely is a very easy one to get into if you're playing online with a friend, or if you're I don't know if it's on Switch Online.
I want to say it is, but like now that we bring it up, I'm like, yeah. But I do feel like it's a pretty accessible game. If it's not on NSO, it's at least available like in some sort of collection.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's a really good game. And it's another one where you literally turn on the power and you just hit start, and instantly you're dropped in the game. Like there's no cutscenes or anything. I think the cutscene for the game is actually if you sit on the title screen. Is the intro for the game. Because because back then you would need eye catches when people would have demo units out, and so that's usually why they would have gameplay or a video start if you sat on the title screen for too long, so that way it would catch the eye of people walking by, and then they would like start the game up because it's like immediate startup once you hit start.
Yeah, that's like inherent from the arcade scene.
Yeah, I guess because a lot of these were arcade games.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
a lot of the philosophies just kind of came along with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? You have a really good point when it comes to the 8-bit experience. You should be experiencing it with someone right next to you, or I guess if you're a modern kid, you could play it online. But the 2-player experience, fantastic, because you know the Famicom got them 2 controller ports for a reason. And you know what? One of the games that I just have to recommend because it's so fun with 2 players is River City Ransom.
Oh yeah.
Yep, fantastic game, classic beat 'em up. The franchise still goes on today, but the only title that I played of it was the original River City Ransom.
It really helped that the NES came with 2 controllers.
Yeah, convenient. It didn't leave kids to wonder why are there 2 slots and only 1 controller. I can't pretend to let my little brother play with me if there's only 1 controller. But yeah.
I just thought of that AVGN skit where he was playing the Rob game and he cut 2 controllers to duct tape both of them together. It's like, this is my Gyromite controller. It plays Gyromite. Because it only worked as 2 players, where the first player controlled the guy and the second player pressed the buttons to open and close the gate. So he just cut 2 controllers taped to each side together. Because yeah, every console came with 2 controllers, because a lot of them, like, that's why a lot of them could just be built with that in mind. Like even single player games like The Legend of Zelda, the second controller was used to save the game.
Oh, huh. I actually never knew that one. I didn't know that about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, River City Ransom, classic beat 'em up. It's like it shows us a lot of like early beat 'em up tropes that you would see like just throughout the genre afterwards, like being able to pick up items.
Oh yeah,
that was cool.
NES had a lot of good beat 'em ups.
Yeah, absolutely.
Double Dragon's another one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's another one. That's very arcadey. I don't think there was River City Ransom ever an arcade game?
I don't remember.
Like, I want to say that was just a console game, but I'm not totally sure on that one. If you know, somebody tell me in the comments. But yeah, but like the whole like adventure aspect of River City Ransom, because it's not just side scrolling. You actually go inside of buildings, go down the street, in like the background and the foreground movement.
No, it was never an arcade.
It was never in an arcade?
No, it doesn't look like.
Yeah, only the
Double
NES
Dragon
boys know. Yeah, Double Dragon definitely had an arcade machine.
Yeah.
Like Bad Dudes.
One thing that's like it's talked about more recently, but like the soundtrack for River City Ransom is like actually mind blowing. Like it is such a good soundtrack. A lot of these NES games, like shockingly, had incredible soundtracks, and it's a very distinctive noise because like it doesn't have a sound chip, so it's got to use like the console sounds itself. So a lot of them have like similar instruments that they use to kind of like fake it, where like they'll use the noise channel for like the bass. So like so it really made them have to be super creative, and it's amazing just how many incredible songs, like a lot of the songs we listen to today were created on the NES, like Final Fantasy's themes, Mario's theme, Zelda's theme, Metal Gear's theme.
Well, yeah, well, even back then they were music composers first.
Yeah,
and,
they got hired
game
as a
dev
music
nerds second.
Yeah, that's why Koji Kondo was so revolutionary because he was one of the first to think about involving the music into the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was one of the first for like dynamic music to change based on what was going on the game itself, or to influence decision where he would make sure that the game over music wouldn't have like I don't know like the actual jargon he used, but it was like basically octaves that he knew would be like demotivators versus motivators.
Mm-hmm.
And he would purposely create the sounds to where when a game over sound happened that it would invigorate or like motivate to try again or not depress the player. And yeah, he had all sorts of like really cool philosophies that he even like would like still comes up with new stuff even today, like with Breath of the Wild. He implemented a lot of new stuff. And so like composers for the NES, like they were in another league. Like people still listen to a lot of this. Like Ninja Gaiden's music was great.
And of course, I'm a huge fan of Nobuo Uematsu.
Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy. Yep.
Yep.
Still used to this. I think it sounds best on the NES compared to like these days. Honestly, like there's just something about it. Like I don't know if you can insert a clip or something. Like it just like. Because it was also one of the first to have the credits at the start of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's when it was playing the main theme.
Yeah, it was very theatrical, wasn't it? Like just like the... Because like you do start with like the cold start for the game, but like when you defeat Garland, that's when you actually go out and like you start the actual... Oh, that was really cool.
Yeah, you cross the bridge, it cuts to a silhouette of 4 warriors of light on a hillside with the water looking out and the theme playing. I think like the way that the NES chiptune just really sells that theme. Like like the big orchestras nowadays, they're beautiful, but there's something that's just absolutely magical with the chip tune that they use for that version.
Yeah, because you could tell that it's really that you could tell what its limitations are, and yet it's just pushing it so far that you still get a sense of the orchestral quality.
Yeah.
But kind of on a similar note to the Final Fantasy and its music, there is also still Dragon Quest, released for us on the NES as Dragon Warrior. And even that one. Yeah, no, like a lot of the music in Dragon Warrior is still classic. And
also like that game itself as well, where it was actually inspired by Western games, surprisingly, because Ultima was huge at the time in Japan, and he realized that it was like very difficult for people to get into for the RPGs because it was so complicated and complex, because it was based on like D&D. So he wanted to make a game that was accessible for even people who are novices with RPGs, and did a lot of the math for you, and had a lot more direction. And so with the NES, it couldn't play complex games like Ultima. It just wouldn't work. It just was way too much memory. And so he wanted to make Dragon Quest as a game that could work on consoles and be make it easy for people to get into the genre that he liked so much. So it was like another passion project, and that really paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I definitely recommend Dragon Warrior. It is one that I did grow up with at home as a little kid. I didn't play it a whole lot.
RPGs at home.
Yep, RPGs at home. Trademark. But yeah, Dragon Warrior, it is a special experience just to see the narrative quality of pure gameplay. Because if you play a modern JRPG or something, you're not necessarily going to see all of that, but like every bit of the story, your adventure is just you leveling up on the field until you're ready to go and see more of the world. Honestly, I would say it's pretty akin to how Breath of the Wild started. Just kind of the conversation about it. It's less. It would be less about the actual like narrative of Breath of the Wild. The story that people would be talking about is how they were all like, "Oh, dude, so like I was riding around on my horse that I like just kind of picked up the other day, and then like in the distance I saw like a dang old dragon, and then I had to go follow it. I wanted to try to jump on it. You know,
Yeah.
That's the story that was going on, and it was purely told by gameplay, and that is something that you get from the original Dragon Warrior.
Yeah, a lot of those older RPGs had like very little hand holding, very little tutorial. So like if like those kinds of things, like it's like, man, just let me play the game. Like, yeah, those older RPGs, they're the extreme opposite of that.
well, Dragon Warrior didn't hold your hand, but it gave you all the clues that you ever needed, right?
Yeah.
But it's all through the intuitiveness of the gameplay. You go out, you almost die against a monster until you beat up enough monsters to go walk further away from the town. And then when you reach a new town, you actually just are inclined to go and talk to as many villagers as you can until you find like a clue of some hearsay about like a ring in the swamp or something. It's a special experience because you can conceivably beat it all in one sitting, and it's a satisfying just series of events to get through.
It does rely on the player a lot, like your intuition, your like motivation, like you're searching for things, you're talking to people, you're exploring, you're putting the clues together.
Yep. And again, the music, the Sugiyama score, fantastic. And I do recommend the first Dragon Warrior because it's pretty still accessible today. Even though some might say the third one is just the better game. If you want to play it purely 8-bit, that's hard to get. But I don't know, you could trip on a Dragon Warrior copy, Dragon Warrior 1. And I think there's a whole lot to appreciate in the fact that you can just beat it in one sitting.
Yeah.
And it is such a cornerstone of the RPG genre, even just like beyond, JRPGs, even though it's like the OG JRPG, just a cornerstone of just RPGs, I'd say. Cornerstone of, well, maybe even Japanese video games. But yeah, you get a whole lot of history and pretty solid gameplay experience, in my opinion, Dragon Warrior. But yep, you got any other specific titles there, Blue, to share with us?
So there's a game that has a lot of style. It's frustrating, but it's also one of the most impossible games to lose.
Really?
Yeah. Like it's actually one that gets parodied a lot. They're like, I hate this game, but I never get a game over. I just keep going. It's called Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blast.
Oh, shoot.
I actually really liked the game growing up, and it's so colorful. It is one of the laggiest games on the console because there's so much stuff and animations in the game. And its music's actually pretty fun. Like, I can remember every soundtrack in the game. But it's like piss easy, but it's also really unfair in a lot of ways, and you get so many lives and so much like free guys. That's what we call them, free guys. And like you just keep going, and like you can literally just throw yourself at bosses and you'll just be fine. It's so funny, and it's like it's a great NES game. Like I played it a lot. Same with Roadrunner. Roadrunner was pretty good. That was a unlicensed game. I have the unlicensed cartridge, and that one was pretty addictive too.
Edgy.
Yeah. Another like really weird one is Monster Party.
I was actually going to talk about Monster Party.
Yeah, like that's one that I had. Like I hate horror, but for some reason that was a game I kept coming back to. It was a lot of fun, and like I'd always want to be the dragon.
Well, he makes it a whole lot easier than playing as Mark.
Yeah, it's such a fun game, and like it's the music's really well done. Like it really adds to the atmosphere.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Presentation was great. It's such a product of its time. Like it's such a weird game.
Yeah, it's such a weird game, but I really like I just like the design of it, right? The gameplay design. I like the idea that you just kind of you could platform across the level, but you run into these doors, and you just gotta know what kind of boss fight is on the other side, because it's never the same. It's never the same.
And like when you're prepared, you're like, I'm ready for this fight. You enter already dead.
You are not
what does
ready.
That even mean? No, like it literally has a pop-up that says already dead. The boss is already dead, and it just like there's nothing in the room.
Yeah, there's actually nothing there. He just poofs out of existence, and you're like, am I? Then like maybe the key that you're supposed to pick up is there, and you're like, was that supposed to be it?
Yeah, like you just I have no idea what it means, and you just hear like a dance club like beat step in the background.
Yeah, like there's one room where it's literally just you watch the zombies do their dance.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it's such a creative game. Like there was obvious passion put into this game.
Yes, like if you want to understand just truly the creativity, the strangeness, but the solid gameplay that I think is emblematic of of what the 8-bit generation can be.
The Wild West.
Yes, because like a game like this cannot just be today. You know what I mean?
And like another thing to put in perspective is a lot of these games were $60
yes.
at launch. Like, so it really was you took a risk on a game, and like this was back then, like before like all the inflation going on. Like this was like, so that'd be like the equivalent of like an $80 game today, and like you're looking at these and you're like, Monster Party, $80, huh? Like I mean, I guess that's also what happened to Earthbound, where it was like $120 because it included like everything with it. But yeah, like it was such a like it also was like where you would go to like garage sales and you would get them for like a few dollars, or used game stores, or renting. You would rent NES games. I remember us renting them.
Yes, that is part of the magic of retro games and growing up with them, is the culture of obtaining them not from retail. You got it from dang yard sales. Like people were trying to get rid of them, trying to get like $5, and you'd be all like, all right, I'll get this whatever game because I need some sort of game.
Yeah, and like and there was a heavy renting culture back then too,
yes,
where a lot of the games that we owned were rented first, and then we would like buy them.
Yeah, and then we would like wine, and then
yeah. Because like Animal Crossing was one that we rented for the GameCube, and then we just like asked them if we could just buy it flat out.
It's like, hey, we already spent like $60 on this. Can we just like keep it now?
Yeah. Yeah, because we would rent Super Nintendo games. Like I remember those being rented, and the N64 we rented those games.
Oh, absolutely, N64, yeah.
Yeah, because like a lot of kids, even young, who were older than us, they would literally like, it would be after school on Friday. The parents would pick them up from school, take them to the rental store, and they would pick a game, and then they would rent it for the weekend. And
then they would buy dominoes, and then that's
like
the quintessential like 90s Friday.
Yeah, and so they would be like, all right, so you rent a game you think looks cool, because like box arts were done by like artists rather than like the game designers. So they like the box art you could not rely on at all.
No. They could be lies.
Like, yeah, like you could look at Final Fantasy's box art. That has nothing to do with it, but it looks cool. It's in a crystal ball.
And like the original Dragon Warrior. I mean, granted, like, you know, years later, we're all like, it could have been the Dragon Ball guy. But we had the fancy fantasy dragon.
Yeah, and like wasn't like Metal Gear like Steve Stallone or something like he's like an actor from Metal Gear. They like literally just took an actor from a movie and they just drew over it for Metal Gear.
Oh dang.
Yeah, and then I think Schwarzenegger was on Contra.
I mean, that makes sense because like it wasn't at least one of those characters based off of him.
No.
No?
That's just the box art. Yeah, that's just the box art.
I might be thinking of a different game then, because like there was some run.
Yeah, Terminator was like there were lots of Terminator games.
Well, no, like there was like some sort of a run and gun game where the characters were based off of like Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there could have been inspiration there as well. I know for sure the box art was just flat out them though.
Well, I mean, it's suiting.
Yeah, and then you turn on the game and they look nothing like them.
Yeah, let me tell you about Breath of Fire 2, bro.
Oh yeah, Breath of Fire. Oh my goodness.
Breath of Fire 2, man. That cover was a lie, but I liked the anime kids a whole lot more. I will tell you about that more when I get to my #1 JRPG waifus episode. But,
yeah, and like box arts were such a big like deal that because like I said, there was no internet. There were like a lot of ads on TV weren't quite doing games yet. So like the only way to get your game noticed was the box art, and that's actually what they attributed to Mega Man being such a failure in America was the box art that we got, the North American box art Mega Man, because the game was a flop here, like complete flop, and that's why they were like. Mega Man 2, they were like, I don't know. Like, that's why I didn't make like any money for Capcom here. And then Mega Man 2 just completely turned it around. They still had trouble putting proper box art, but at least it wasn't the first one. Because oh man, box arts were a huge deal here.
Yeah, I mean, by the time we got to like Mega Man 5, though, it was pretty Mega Man looking.
Yeah, they're like, okay. They're like, maybe we can have something that looks a little bit more like Mega Man.
But there is a whole lot of charm to the original Inafune Mega Man design.
Oh, 100%.
Yep.
You can. I think they still use some of the weird box arts on Switch Online. I think
they
like some of them they edited it, but. Because like obviously you can't have like actors that are their likenesses on there.
Yeah, like the Breath of Fire 2 box art, US box art is definitely on NSO.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them are like really fun time capsules because like it was similar like with the composers where it was just they got an artist and they said we need a box art, here you go. And then they just did it as artists, and then like for the composers, like they hired a composer, and like not necessarily a game composer because that wasn't really a thing. So because like there wasn't really like as much of a distinction of roles on game dev back then because it would be a team of like 4 people.
Yeah, and
so there'd be a lot of
nerds.
overlap. Yeah, and it would be tons of overlap. Like even like RPGs, they would just like. It would just be up in the air. Like they would have like even like have the composer programming, or they would also have like the composer doing art. Like you would just have like a bit of everything. They were just like a bunch of guys making a game.
Yep, so, just a bunch of bros making a bro game.
Yeah, like even seeing the workstations for stuff like back then, because most of the time it was just people's houses.
Oh yeah,
like, there wasn't. Yeah, and so it would just look so. It would look so fun.
Honestly, yeah. It's like the only game dev scene is indie back then.
yeah, literally.
Yeah,
it's really cool, and like it would also be cool because like just selling like 1,000 units was considered such a massive success.
Oh yeah, that's a lot, dude. Because like,
yeah,
they used to have like print crap on their own. Like, I just remember back in like talking about game history classes. They would talk about how games would be like on floppy disks that they would put inside plastic bags on their own, and then like actually like bring it to people to sell. That's insane to me.
Yeah, and it was a lot easier to get like a meeting as well with like people in the industry too, because like going back to Ultima, he literally put his personal cell phone number in the game and said, "Call me and tell me what you think of the game."
Well, first of all, that guy was balling. He had a cell phone
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
He's like, listen,
I
man,
mean,
this brick was expensive. Call it, please.
Yeah, and he would even put the address, his literal home address there too, and said, "Send me a letter of what you think of the game too."
See, original game designers had the balls because they would dox themselves every day.
Yeah, so cool. It's crazy, and like, yeah, it's just it's so cool seeing a lot of like seeing this industry that literally was just brand new, and like how and again, like it was just pure passion behind a lot of it. Like even with the NES, because it came here after the crash, but they were just so confident that people would have fun playing these games that they did everything in their power, to the point where like a lot of people still debate, when did Super Mario Brothers get released in America? Because it was like they would focus on one city for like a week and try to get it to take off there, then go to another city and try to get it to take off there. And that's why Rob the Robot exists, because they were trying to like sell it not as a video game but as an entertainment console or like a toy.
Yeah,
as a toy. So yeah, so it was such a fun history to look at. And then don't even get started on Iwata.
Oh my gosh,
that's a guy of passion.
Talk about heroes in the industry, man.
Oh god, I could literally go for hours about him. Like,
that's a completely other subject.
Yeah,
we will have the Iwata podcast.
What a fan! God, yeah, he was just around through all of like HAL's 8-bit days, and yeah, just man, yeah, the 8-bit era. You could just pop anything in, and you just see this time capsule of gaming. Like,
and that man loved his Luigi.
Yeah,
loved his Luigi. Nothing but respect. Gosh dang it, because I love my Luigi.
If you want a really interesting game, it's the only one Miyamoto says that was a game that he didn't think was good that he made.
Oh?
Yeah, they were like, is there any game that you feel wasn't very good? And he said, well, I wouldn't say it's not good, but I kind of wish I did Zelda 2 differently.
Really?
Yeah, he said that Zelda 2 was the only by-the-books game that they made. Like, it didn't go through any... Yeah, he said it didn't go through any revisions or, like discussions or changes. Like, it literally was just... They just made it and released it.
But it's like the most different game in the series.
Yeah, well, at the time, it was just the second one. Yeah, so like, yeah, he said like, unlike other games like Mario Brothers where they went through lots of revisions and like different like ideas, and people like, hey, I have this idea, and they're like, oh yeah, they did that. With Zelda 2, they said it was just like by the books. Like they come in, they just did it. They just sent it out. Like there was no real like what they started was how they finished. Whereas in like every other, like Ocarina of Time went through like 9 different like revisions and versions, and first person view, third person view, different designs for the character. It was going to be a Link to the Past 3D remake, then it's an original, and so, like they went through everything. But Zelda 2, he said, was just by the book. So people could probably be like, yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So does that mean that you recommend Zelda 2 as a game for someone to try?
Version.
Specifically,
yeah, the North American version.
Wait, why specifically the North American version?
It's improved in every aspect. It's faster load times, better music. It has more graphics. Yeah, they edited the soundtrack for the North American version. It's the only one that has the battle music for the random encounters. It has all 6 palaces with a different aesthetic. There was only 2 in the Japanese version.
Dang.
The load times are instant, where it took like 12 seconds to load in the Japanese version.
Sometimes I feel like we cheated the Japanese audiences, just because our gray bread box was slightly newer than their Famicoms.
Yeah, well, not just that. Not just that. It's that we get their game, like they get the games first, and then we get like them like a year or two later.
Version 1.2.
Yeah, we get it like a year or two later, and it doesn't help that a lot of our NES games were not NES games for Japan. So like Zelda 2, Metroid, and the original Zelda were on the disc system. We didn't get that, so they had to make a cartridge version, and so a lot of it required a lot of editing. So that's also why our load times were better, because they would be loading off a disc. So it would literally, every time you entered a town, it would say wait on a black screen, whereas ours would just it's like immediate.
It was pretty crisp.
Yeah, and so we were also the first ones to have saves on cartridges, because they just used it on their disc system.
Pretty neat. That is some trivia. And I guess if anybody would know, it is you, Mr. Speedrunny Boy.
Yeah, like it's fun to like see it on it, because like it is like Zelda 2 is like almost like it's very different. There's a lot of differences. Like Link doesn't have a mouth in the Japanese version either.
That's very specific.
Yeah.
That's a very specific difference.
Yeah, they added a pixel so that he looked like he had a mouth.
Hey, now he can get that kiss at the end.
Yeah.
Zelda just looked at him in Japanese and I'm like, Nani? What is this?
And like while the audio quality was technically better because of the like the NES sound chip versus a disc, I think the sound's better on the NES. The sound effects in the Japanese version are ear piercing. Like they are so high pitched loud, and they changed that for the NES version.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I think Zelda 2 might be the biggest like difference example from like the discs versions of a game to the NES. Like they did have to do some changes on the original Zelda, where the Famicom controller for the second player has a microphone in it. The NES did not have a microphone in the controller, so like one of the enemies, the rabbits, the only way to kill them in the Japanese version was to shout into the microphone because they hate loud noises. Yeah, in the American version, you just shoot them with an arrow and it instantly kills them.
What was it called, like the Pole's voice or something?
Yeah, Pole's voice. Yep.
Yeah, really interesting. But
yeah, so I'd recommend Zelda 2. It's a difficult game, but it is a lot of fun, and I think it has a lot of charm. Like, I really do like Zelda 2.
In my opinion, it's like the closest one that I would recognize as like as an RPG in the Zelda series.
Yeah, it's the only one with EXP points for sure.
It has EXP points, and then there's all the magic stuff and.
Yeah, magic spells, and it's the origin of like the sages' names. Like they were the town names.
Oh yeah.
Town of Rauru, Town of Ruto, Town of Saria.
Yeah, so like from a history of the franchise standpoint, it's really interesting to see.
It's the first time for the up thrust and down thrust.
Yeah, very cool. And you don't get to see those come back until like Smash Bros.
Soul Calibur 2. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Soul Calibur.
Yeah, Smash Bros. It's shocking that happened.
Lincoln Smash Bros. Or Lincoln Soul Calibur.
Yeah, some of his moves are so funny.
Link was so fun in that game.
Yeah, have you seen his jump grab?
Yes, ridiculous. Because like he slaps you across the stage, boy.
Yeah, he hops on your shoulders and just does a piggyback and starts slamming your butt with his sword as a giddy up.
That's very rude, Link, but keep going.
Yeah, and my favorite is the baseball bat swing with the sword.
I loved that. Oh my gosh.
It's so satisfying. What a fantastic game. Dude, I love that game.
Yeah, Soul Calibur. I used to be a huge fan of Soul Calibur.
Yeah,
I haven't thought much about Soul Calibur until pretty recently when I finally like started playing the newest one a little bit.
Still hold
fun.
Up or no?
Still pretty fun in my opinion, but I'm not sure if it's super popular because it feels like nobody talks about Soul Calibur anymore.
Yeah, I think it's getting treated similar to how Dead or Alive did.
Yeah, but still actually fun in my opinion. I was having a good time. Although what was missing in the newest one is the story, and I actually really like the story of Soul Calibur. Like it's not like it didn't have any at all. It's just that it didn't progress the story.
Yeah, I mean, it played a lot in like Arthurian legend too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which like I feel like should be used more often than it actually is.
Well, somehow, right?
Yeah, like Siegfried and the I forgot the Soul Edge. What was it called?
Nightmare.
Yeah,
Or
I forgot like the sword that possesses the like Nightmare.
oh yeah, that's Soul Edge.
Yeah, because I think that's still in a lot of the Arthurian ones. I could be off on that, but I know like even like Fate Grand Order goes into that with the sword that corrupts.
But yeah, going back to 8-bit games, I do want to mention this one game that never actually came out in the US, but it is definitely available with fan translation and is pretty influential in its own right. Are you familiar with Sweet Home?
Yes.
Yes, try that game. That is a really interesting game. I actually have a reproduction cartridge that I could use on the NES. Really interesting game. Influenced a whole lot of games after it, like it's cited as an inspiration for Resident Evil, which is pretty important.
Yeah, like it's like it's still talked about in Resident Evil.
Yeah, it better be.
But it's like its visuals are like way above like the average for the console.
Yes, like it's actually kind of scary, like the visuals.
It's genuinely uncomfortable.
But like gameplay wise, unique. A unique take on progressing, what Dragon Warrior gave us. It's just walking around in a haunted mansion, but you actually have control over 2 parties, and it's still a turn-based JRPG, like the Dragon Warrior.
Yeah,
but one of my favorite parts of having the 2 parties is that, like, when one party is having trouble in a battle, you actually have the answer choice to be all like, hey, go switch to the other team and have them run over here. I freaking love that.
Yeah, and it's like it's also one of those games where they know you're screwed, so they have a pray option. It's just like, please God, like, please.
Yes.
It's you hear Sweet Home, it's not.
It's very ironic. There's nothing sweet. There's no sugar.
It's a genuinely unsettling game, and yes. It inspired a Resident Evil.
Yeah, definitely a horror game. Definitely. But yeah, it's really cool how you have like every character kind of has like their own like sort of tool that they start off with, but you could also find like a copy of it as you explore the mansion. I've never beaten the game because I'm pretty sure I like screwed myself over. Like when the last time I was playing it, like I got stuck. And I don't think I can unstick myself because there are no longer enough wooden boards in the world to unstick me. But that's another thing about NES game design is that you can totally screw yourself over.
Yeah, like Resident Evil was supposed to be like a remake of Sweet Home, so like that's how like they're like we gotta change some things because like it's genuinely hard.
Yeah, genuinely hard, and I already think Resident Evil is kind of difficult.
Yeah, like that's like you can really tell it was supposed to be a remake because it all taking place in a mansion, like all of that, but. Yeah, like it basically like it didn't coin the term, but like it was like the origin of like the survival horror genre.
Mm-hmm. I think survival horror came from advertising for Resident Evil.
Yeah, like it was definitely after Resident Evil that the term started to exist, but like it really was this game was the origin for like that genre itself. Yeah,
it's definitely at the root of it.
Yeah.
Yep, so definitely if you don't mind playing Japanese games, try out Sweet Home. You won't be disappointed. You might be scared, not disappointed. But yeah, got any other titles to share with us, Blue?
So like I just started thinking of like all those old like the old classic arcade ones like Clue Land, like like I don't know the reputation of Clue Clue In, but I legitimately enjoyed that game.
The first time I played it was actually when I got the console in Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people's like first encounter with it. Like that one, like those like arcade games from then were like they were really fun to like pop in, like Duck Hunt and all of them, like legitimately fun.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you're right. Like Duck Hunt is like totally kind of a staple for like the NES. So, like you had to have tried it. You had to have like the freaking light gun just sitting in a drawer right now.
Oh, you're right, light gun. So there's a light gun game that I absolutely love. I can't remember the name of it. I think it was like Earth or something like something with Earth, I think, in it. And it basically is just like a blue Earth planet for the box art. And it's entirely controlled with the light gun. And it was like the most like fun space like shooting game that I played. Like, I wonder if I can find the To the Earth. Yeah, To the Earth. Yeah, that one. It has such style, and it's one of the only games you go to Uranus as well, which was very funny to me as a kid.
Gosh darn it.
And like the music was really cool. It was very atmospheric, like music. It felt like you're like rising up to space because it was like an on-rail shooter through space, and like it was a lot of fun. Did it ever go to? It never released in Japan, so it's a North American game only.
Hey.
Yeah, which is another game that it's just now I'm snowballing. That reminds me of another American only NES game. So yeah, the light gun games were a lot of fun. Like Bayou Billy had one too. That was really interesting.
Oh, that's a vaguely familiar title.
Yeah, it's a game that I think a lot of people actually played on the NES because it was 3 genres of games in one. It was the beat 'em up, then it was a racing game where you were controlling a car and you had to be as fast as possible, and then it was an on-rail shooter as well, and it would swap between those 3 game styles each time.
Huh. The variety. Impressive.
Yeah.
That is kind of something that I think is pretty special to like retro game designs, even in like maybe even like especially in the NES days, is they would just straight up have different genres just kind of mashed in there.
Yeah.
Like Kirby just, of course it's a platformer, but Kirby is also a pretty solid shoot 'em up character.
Yeah.
That also reminds me, Shahrazad for the NES was also a mixture of genres. It's like kind of like a Zelda-like adventure game, action RPG, but also a turn-based Dragon Quest like RPG mashed into one. And I really liked the way they combined those two. It was really interesting.
Yeah,
because it still had like the level up system, and that would affect your HP and stuff across the board, and gave us pretty interesting level designs. And one of the interesting about the world design is like it wasn't really open world, because like every chapter you're in a new world, so it has like this kind of linear progression to it.
Yeah.
But you still have like this area of new map to explore, like the overworld. But yeah, that was a interesting game. I was never able to beat it because the save system was passwords, and
yeah,
I lost my password, and also that game's hard. There was like one very obtuse puzzle that was very frustrating, because it's just You have to get to the other side of a chasm, but there's like an invisible path, and it is the skinniest, horrible path that's impossible to map out. It's definitely a path that you need the power of Nintendo power to get past. Because ain't no way. And like you can't just retry it every time, because it like drops you to the floor below or something, and you have to actually like adventure all the way back up there, take 2 steps, mess up again, you know what I mean? So never beat that, because that part was crap. But for the most part, interesting game. But honestly, they were doing really interesting things with RPGs back then, because these days I feel like we're not that experimental with RPGs, like just not the same way they were experimenting. They were experimenting with just what can be done with a Dragon Quest.
Yeah, like we mentioned that with the whole like PS2 era and PS1 era, where it just seemed like there were so many creative and unique attempts at the genre. Like even in the NES, like with the NES, like even the American developed ones like Star Tropics, those were also unique. Like I would say it's like an RPG.
Yeah, I'd say it's basically like an RPG, or at the very least like a Zelda adventure game.
Yeah,
but it's very RPG like it, I'd say too.
Yeah, like, so it's just lots of creativity. That you don't. I think it's just because like back then like budgets weren't so like risky at the time. Like now it's like a game needs to sell well or needs to be successful for like hundreds of employees and the company and costs and budgets being in the millions and multi-millions, tens of millions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's just not room for error.
Yeah, where it's like 1,000
there's too much on the line.
Being a success.
This is not somebody's side passion project.
Yeah.
This is people's livelihoods, it's people's businesses, it's people's years of life, you know?
Yeah.
So you can't really, it's hard to just be all like, well, go take a chance on that. It's all like, bro.
Yeah, that's why there's so many sequels. Because like NES would also just have like random like fun puzzle games like Yoshi's Cookie, Dr. Mario. Like those are tons of fun that I would just play endlessly for hours. Like I'm a huge puzzle game fan.
Oh yeah, you are. you totally spank me in puzzles games.
I absolutely love it. Like Puzzle League, Panel de Pon are among my favorites. Oh yeah, the Batman NES game was pretty big too. Like that one had so much style.
Had so much Batman.
Have you seen them or played it?
I've not played it, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it on 2006 YouTube or something.
Oh yeah. The NES Batman game like was everywhere. I think it was like one of the first games with wall jumping. Yeah,
which is impressive. Wall jumping before Mario.
Yeah, Mega Man X like stole from Batman.
So what if I took Mega Man but Batman?
Yeah, I mean it's already half the name.
So what if I could Man?
Yeah. Yeah, the Batman game it had such good music. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. I'm trying to look to see if I can find a specific game. Oh yeah, Punch Out.
Punch Out? That's definitely a game that you should totally try.
Yeah, Punch Out is absolutely fantastic. Like that one is so ahead of its time with that's another I could just go on for Howard. Like it's almost like a puzzle game, honestly. Like
more so than like a fighting game.
Yeah, like that was a game that you would like talk to your friends, trade strategies, like and it was like yeah, like while it was also kind of like a puzzle to like figure out like the weaknesses and timings, like it also, you could go on raw instinct and still be successful, like just reacting, like defending, guarding, dodging, getting in hits when you see their guard down, like, and yeah, there was just so like it was such a like unique game that it like, even somebody like I only got to play it when I was in college, like, so that was like way past its time, but I still had so much fun playing it for the first time, and like you really get into the zone with that game, and it had so much personality and life to it. Like, it's such a fantastic game.
Yeah, it's definitely one that I need to spend more time trying out. But definitely, I feel like my largest exposure to Punch Out is probably like WarioWare micro games.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh, actually, speaking of Wario, that was another puzzle game that I was obsessed with on the NES.
Wario's Woods?
Yeah, I was obsessed with that game. I would play it endlessly.
The music was awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's like, honestly, like I think it's like top 5 visuals on the NES. Like,
it's really nice looking.
You could be like, if you showed it to somebody, they would probably not guess it was on the NES.
Right? Like like I like Mandela'd myself, because I was all like, wait, was that a Super Nintendo game or was that an NES game?
And it's both.
Right? Mandela.
It is on the Super Nintendo. It is on the Super Nintendo as well, but it's a very different like style of it. It's also similar with Kirby's Avalanche. I would be shocked to find out it was by different developers. Where Toad is very high strung. He wants to scrap with everybody. He'd be like, "Hello, fight me!" Like, yeah, like, oh man, Warriors was like, I loved playing that. Like, it was also one that I originally played on Animal Crossing before getting it myself. And I would just play endless hours. Like, I was so into the game. Like I said, I love puzzle games, and that one was very challenging but very fair, and you could actually feel your improvement on your movements and setting your setups and like learning the rules. It's a very fun game, and it's visually stunning. Like, if you could watch somebody play it, even, it's still entertaining.
I mean, just kind of as a sidebar of things that Nintendo would never do ever again, is they would never put entire retro titles into a single game like they did the original GameCube Animal Crossing.
Yeah, and like, they actually got asked about that, and their answer is very Nintendo. Like, it makes sense for what they said. So they said the reason they stopped doing that wasn't just because of like free games, but they felt like people were spending more time on it than Animal Crossing, and that it was just way too distracting and like kind of ruined the game for a lot of people.
Yeah,
where they were no longer. Yeah,
that is a Nintendo as heck answer, and I can appreciate that, because like, coming from them, I believe it.
Yeah,
coming
exactly.
coming from a company that was run by Satoru Iwata, I believe it.
They thought that it really kind of like it fell in like an ante of the game, where the game is about going outside and interacting. And then you
start playing a game where you are playing a video game.
It was so realistic. It was just like me in real life. Like, I never went outside
I'm living
again.
the life.
Yeah, I never went outside again. I was just, so they felt it was very antithetical to when they saw people playing it. It wasn't something that people were just like playing a little bit and then like continuing. It was literally like the main focus for a lot of people.
Yeah, they just wanted to play Wario's Woods.
Yeah.
So they don't want to play Animal Crossing anymore. They decide to let the weeds grow. But Wario's Woods, though.
Yeah, it became Wario's Woods. That's the origin story.
Yep. But yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good choice there. But there is one more that I want to talk about. Because I do want to put in some shmups, some shmup answer. Because shoot 'em ups, probably one of my favorite game genres. even though I'm god awful. But this one's super cute, super fun, and it's Daytona Twinbee.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's so popular. It's crazy how popular that game is.
Crazy that like we don't have more Twinbee.
It was on the 360, and like it's crazy like how popular Twinbee is. Like, because like it's one where I guess it's just because like I never really saw it growing up, but then like when I look back at like its legacy, it like was huge. It's crazy to me just how popular, how big, like how worldwide it was known. Like, and I mean, I'm glad like it, and it makes sense too. Like it's very like fast paced, no lag, like really solid mechanics, and it's an endless shooter.
Yeah, so fun, just like visually and audibly a joy.
Yeah, and like to the point that like in game design classes that I took, like we had to make Twinbee.
Really? No fair. Yeah. So you got to like make the bell that you juggle around?
I couldn't make that.
Oh.
We got to do like the base of it, where it was like the shooting and level progression and like intensity progression, and yeah, like that's like I was like, wow, like that. And I think it was called like 1964 or something.
That's also a good game.
Yeah, we made that one from scratch as well using Game Maker, and like yeah, like it was like that's when I really learned like how big like these games were, and like how much they defined a lot of like people's gaming experiences. Like they were huge.
Yeah, exactly my point, Blue. Absolutely try Twinbee if you can.
Yeah, definitely a good one. It's very easy to get into.
Yeah, and I think on the US NES, it was released here as Stinger.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to get like original cartridge, go look out for Stinger. I don't know how available it is on like modern consoles, but I definitely got the Twinbee 3D on the 3DS. And for a while, it was kind of like the only thing that I had downloaded on there. But I did not regret it because great game. And of course, if you have the opportunity to branch out into the 16-bit 20-bit titles, try those too. But we're talking about 8-bit today, so just the original Stinger. Give it a shot.
The last one was released in 2013 for iOS and Android.
Oh, so maybe we might be able to actually get it on Android. Actually, I should check that out because I've been wanting to have something else on my tablet.
Yeah, and it says it's on the Switch as well.
Oh yeah, it might be on NSO, right?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, so if you have NSO, yeah, great. I'm glad that it is still accessible. I'm not just. We need to have like actually accessible games on this list. But yeah, do you have any more games to add there, Blue?
Just the obligated Castlevania mention.
You know what? The music is ballin'.
It's very difficult. It's also surprisingly weighty. Like Simon, if you walk off a cliff, drops like a brick, and when you jump, it's an arc that's guaranteed. You can't adjust your jump once you jump. Yeah,
it's a dedicated jump arc.
Yeah,
kind of like what's it called? Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah, like you really feel the weight, and like every swing has a delay because it's a whip, which also adds to the gameplay and the timing. Like everything in it is so like precisely made. It's very like you can see why it was one of the most popular games on the NES. Like it was one of the earliest too. Shocking, like it was one of like the original games like on its release. Let me see if I can find the year real quick.
That's really impressive. Considering how much it was pushing what that music can do.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, 1987. And yeah, it was like in the first year and a half of the console's lifespan.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Konami used to do cool things.
Yeah, and in North America, it was like the first 8 months or something like that. Yeah, like it was like, yeah, so like such an early game, and it really did stick the landing. Like it was so, like I remember hearing like I would listen to some people talk about when they were kids growing up and the NES was new, that the thing that got them, and it's like it's something, a mindset that it doesn't exist anymore, where when they did the first level and they beat that bat in the first level, they thought they beat the game, because it was very rare for a game to be more than, not just that, but it was very rare for a game to be more than one screen, because like the Atari and the ColecoVision and yeah, so when they went through this whole castle for the first stage, they thought, and yeah, because it was also hard, so they thought, oh, I beat the game, and then it says level 2, they're like, what?
The world just expanded before them.
Yeah, because like, you know, you're also used to like arcade games too, so it's like, you know, you're just doing an endless thing, but no, this was like a full game. It was like the first time a lot of people experienced a game that had that kind of a length.
Yeah, had that progression in it.
Yeah, and it like hit me. I was like, oh yeah, the mindset that, because like I almost had that, because we grew up around like when the 64 was new, SNES was ending, and like PS1, so like we still got to experience a lot of the classic games almost around the time, or at least we had relatives who did, and so we kind of got to experience a little bit of that mindset. But yeah, like just that when it's brand new, just the NES was the first thing, and so they get, you know, Castlevania as one of their first games, and they're expecting, oh, you know, after finishing like Atari, they're like, oh wow, that's just the first stage. Like, holy cow.
Oh yeah, that had to have been mind-blowing.
Yeah, and yeah, the music, the atmosphere, the visuals, like Castlevania still holds up. Like it really does still hold up.
It does make me think with the games that we listed, that the NES was actually pretty good for horror.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. There is definitely something about like classic games where like the limitations of the hardware really helped enhance a lot of the horror stuff. Like people would talk about like the original Resident Evil versus like the remake, where like the harder to tell visuals, where your imagination kind of fills it in, like subconsciously, helps a lot with like the horror aspects of a lot of these older games. Like I know 64, there's a lot of Uncanny Valley on the Nintendo 64. And it's also where a lot of creepypastas were, even for like Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time. I don't know.
The classic Ben drowned.
Yeah, and Majora's Mask, were like the low polys and the like CRT visuals, where things, you know, kind of blend together. Like it helps with horror, and yeah, like I think NES was really good for that. I think NES probably pulled off horror a little bit better than the Super Nintendo did, I feel like.
I think so too, because the NES did kind of obligate like having the blank black background. I think the people who decide to go the horror direction tried to take as much advantage of the fact that, you know, they had the blank space back there.
Yeah, like I had Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, where even though they're considered pretty mediocre games, that kind of adds to the horror. It's like, no.
For sure.
I think Friday the 13th, I think it was one of the first first-person view games.
Was it first person?
When you entered into a cabin, it went to a first-person perspective.
Oh, okay.
And I wonder if it's one of the first times that happened, because did it come before Ultima? Well, like at least on the like it was still one of the early attempts at it. So yeah, like that was an interesting. So like even like games that people consider really like awful, like they still had like something that was really unique because they really wanted to stand out. Yeah, and again, really, like a licensed game, so like they put effort into it.
No doubt. But yeah, I'd say that stopping at Castlevania is a great way to top the list.
Yeah, it's really good. And also, like, Castlevania's box art is one that people still make posters of.
Oh yeah, it's one of the ones that stand up to time.
Yeah.
That is just how we imagine Simon Belmont to look.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we go, how about you tell us, Blue, where people could find more Blue Infinity 22 if they need more Blue Infinity 22 in their lives?
Blue Infinity 22 on Twitch and YouTube.
Cool. Also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, the Pixel Smacchan channel, and you would like to hear more of the podcast that we are rolling out, go ahead and action smack that subscribe button. But if you just want to hear more Smacchan, you could go ahead and check out the main Action Smacchan channel, where there's some really old gameplay streams and videos, and more recent videos about tokusatsu and stuff. And if you want, you could follow me at Twitter and Instagram, both at Action Smacchan. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here, and I will see you in the next Smacchan Packed adventure.